many examples of contenders being built off of these superstar trades.
No, it's a huge gamble unless you have a generational talent to put them around. Like you have to have like you got to have somebody who really moves the needle.
Yeah, it's bad. So it doesn't bode well for the Lakers and the Suns. Although I think you guys are going to trade back, which is smart. I think you guys are going to trade back with the 22nd pick, get like some early second rounders or whatever, and then maybe take Bronny with one of those picks. But all right, we're here. All right, I think we're good. I think we're live. Damon, you got the check. All right, we're all
Yeah, we're
set.
all good.
All right, hey, we're here. Um, we're a little bit late, but it's been a crazy fucking week. We had to get out House of the Dragon entirety of season one. We're currently cooking on season two, but we are caught up on our normal schedule after this live stream. We're gonna cover the boys season four episodes 1 through 3. You know, you're joined by me, Chenny Britt, my boy Damon. We're the Winter Hill Warriors. You know how this is gonna go. We're gonna just fly through the 3 episodes, take breaks at times from the recap. Gonna get Damon's thoughts on this, on what we've seen so far. Before we start, I just gotta give a quick plug. If you guys are interested, I drop music as well. Chenny Britt on Spotify. I dropped a song earlier this year called Panamera, so show it some love if you want to. If you don't, whatever. I don't really care. I do care, but let's just get going with this real quick. We got 3 episodes to cover, so we want to try to run through this. We start off the season, and I think it's like election day, right? So Victoria Newman is the VP. You got Robert Singer as the prez. They win the election. So I think Jan 6th is going to be inauguration day. So it's like what, November-ish around this time. While this election is going on, we got the boys staking it out. So we got the normal squad, right? The usual members. We got Mother's Milk, Frenchie, we got Kimiko, we got Huey. And I think we ended last season with Butcher being like, he's still a part of the boys, but he's a bit too much of a loose cannon at this point. So he's still here with them, but he's not really doing well at taking orders. So they're kind of there to try to assassinate Victoria Newman, which it's not gonna work. But they're kind of staking it all out. They're disguised, all that, and then Butcher is there, and he refuses to wear his disguise because Butcher is just not very good at taking orders, and he kind of blows their shit up. But what they didn't expect at this little celebration party on election night is that Homelander's there, and as Homelander is taking a piss, he plucks a white pubic hair from his groin area. Full disclosure, I have yet to knock on wood. I have yet to find a white pube. I got a few white hairs in the back of my head, but I don't have a white pube yet. I think the day I find a white pube, I might just go psychotic. But Homelander pulls one out, and this really hits him hard because this guy thinks he's a god. He thinks he's invincible, but he is aging. So he's not immune to aging. That's still the human element of him, and he's really fucking freaking out. What is he, Damon? Like 45, 50 at this point in this show? Like he's not young.
Yeah, I think he was he created in like 1981?
Yeah, something like that. Something like that.
So I think that would put him around like low 40s at this point.
Something like that. Yeah. So he's getting up there. So he's having his midlife crisis, but he's brought Ryan to this election night event, and Ryan is obviously really nervous. He's like, that's a lot of people, and Homelander's like, they're cockroaches. Don't even worry about them. Very good father figure. So they pull up, and then
Solid.
Solid. Yeah. Ryan meets Victoria Newman's daughter Zoe, and as you remember, at the end of season 3, Newman injected Zoe with, what was it, Compound V to give her suit powers just to protect her. Yeah. So Zoe's there. Her and Ryan kind of walk off, and then Newman's just like, Homelander, what the fuck are you doing here? These two are obviously enemies. Newman, despite having those head popping skills, she is terrified of Homelander because who isn't? He's the most powerful being in the universe right now. So Homelander's there to end up, he's gonna want something from her, and she's just like, what do you want from me? And Homelander is just like, you'll see. But for the time being, he's there just to kind of show face and really just bully her. While this is all going on, Butcher ends up getting spotted by Ryan and Zoe, and Butcher's like, Ryan, let me just talk to you one-on-one. He's like, look, man, like, you can't be like your dad. And Ryan's just like, you abandoned me, fuck off. Homelander walks in on them, Homelander knows that Butcher is going to die soon. He's got like 6 months to live. Homelander has x-ray vision. He can see the black mass in his head. So it's not looking good for Butcher, and Homelander doesn't even bother killing him because he's already a dead man walking. So they kind of walk off, and let's see. So while this is happening, I think it's Kimiko and Frenchie. They end up breaking into Newman's hotel room, and they're trying to mess around with her eye drops and stuff like that, because I think she has to see you in order to pop your head off. So they're trying to like sabotage her. Now this is when it gets fucking crazy, because Zoe walks in and she spots like everything that's going on. So Frenchie and Kimiko see them, and then they had some guards here who are in on the whole thing, and right away it just escalates. And Zoe's powers are she has like these tentacle things that can sprout out of her mouth, and she just goes into kill mode and just fucking murders the shit out of these guards, and then comes at Kimiko. I think she ends up ripping Kimiko's arm off. They end up making they jump out of the window, and Starlight, who's been learning how to fly, or like, she's not great at it, but she can fly a little bit. She ends up catching Frenchie, thank God, because he's not a soup. She doesn't catch Kimiko because Kimiko's arm is in the middle of regeneration and isn't big enough for Starlight to reach. So Kimiko technically dies and smashes herself into pieces, but she can regenerate. So she just regenerates like Wolverine, and she's all good. Then Newman pulls up and catches Huey in the van, and is just like, come on, man. And, you know, Newman at this point, before this scene, they hadn't had a confrontation yet where Newman's like, hey, Huey, I know you're trying to come after me. So this is like a big shock to Huey. Newman's just like, what's going on? And Huey's basically just like, how could you shoot your own daughter up with Compound V? And Newman's like, I got to protect her. I don't know if Zoe needs a lot of protecting. From what I saw, she looks like she's ready to fucking kill. And then Huey's got this acid that he's holding behind his back this entire time that Frenchie is concocting. He tries to spray the acid on Newman. It doesn't work at all. She's immune to it. All it does is burn a hole in her jacket. And then right as that's happening, Butcher walks over and tries to shoot her in the head. That doesn't work either, and she's totally fine. And she's just like, you guys are kind of pathetic, but we just won the election, so I got to go back and celebrate. And that's pretty much it. So that's how we open season 4. Quick thoughts on that.
How disrespectful to take a shot to the head and get acid poured on you and just turn and say, "Sorry guys, I got a party I got to attend right now. We just won big." The context behind this right now, especially with Homelander's drop in, right? He is currently on trial for blasting that guy's brain away after he threw the water bottle at Ryan at that rally. So he's showing up here to shore up support, or to at least remind Newman of what he has on her, and that he's still around and he is like still going to be present no matter what. So he's a little desperate, because you really wouldn't be acting like this and pulling this if everything was all solid right now. He also feels like he's in transition. Like Ryan is commented on as like, you know, the next Homelander. Like he is like the heir to the throne in such a way, you know, talking a little House of Dragon here. So right now Homelander's trying to figure out like where he is at. Is he's not still the spring chicken that he was? Is there a way he can hold on to the throne that he's had for so long here? Butcher not doing well. So Butcher also is in a phase where they are like, he's every day he is closer to this death that he concocted for himself when he took that Compound V. This show loves to tie multiple characters' fates together because there are so many characters and so many side characters. So Butcher and Homelander having that in common right from the jump shouldn't surprise anybody. There's this little funny pop-up they do on the Amazon thing where they show you trivia, and it was about Homelander's music taste. Daphne's like, come on, Ryan, we can't miss Smash Mouth. And I was like, Homelander also likes Uncle Kracker. You remember that guy?
Yeah. Was he the one who was like, follow me, everything is all right?
Yeah.
That song fucking bangs. I don't care. I think that was written originally back like in the 50s, right?
I think so. And then he just covered it in 2001 or something like that, or 2000. But
Yeah.
Homelander basically likes the kind of music that you would see on a Nickelodeon music video back when they were still a thing.
Yeah. Good call, Damon, on the Homelander on trial thing. I totally forgot about that.
Oh yeah. The one other thing that I noticed was the heist scene also felt produced by Nickelodeon, with the walking on the sun in the background. Butcher and Huey still have this little thing in common where when they go off script, bad things result. And then there is Zoe, her little power set. If you guys saw Gen V, it also makes sense why they started with Newman because Gen V was heavy on the Newman stuff. But blood bending and this like sort of Gorgon that comes out of Zoe's mouth aren't super connected, but they're slightly connected in a way. So it's like if your kid has powers, even if they're shot up with Gen V instead of being natural born, genetically there must be some marker in there that makes them a little similar to what you had before, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah. Like there is some DNA transfer involved, some relation there.
Yeah, something like that.
Um, yeah, okay, good call. And all right, let's keep it going. So obviously, Newen being VP is very devastating. And then over here, we get kind of the reveal. We get the iconic boys opening. I tried so hard to make this into the thumbnail, and I just could not do it. I did not have time. But all right, so now we see in the CIA office with what's her name? Is it Grace? Grace, right?
Grace Mallory, yeah.
Grace Mallory, yeah. So turns out that the president to be president elect. I should know this as an American, but the president elect is in on it with Grace and the CIA, and they're kind of bankrolling the boys to basically kill Newman. They all know about Newman being a soup, and Singer's basically like, dude, if you guys don't kill her before I'm inaugurated, then she's gonna kill me, and she's the VP, so she's gonna become president. So we have basically 2.5 months to kill her, or else I'm dead. And and then they have to cover up the death of the Secret Service that was in that hotel room that Zoe just fucking murked. So this is interesting. And then they're talking a little bit about Starlight, and which brings us to the fact that I think this is next. Actually, we'll cover this first. This John Hamm lookalike dude, I kept thinking this was John Hamm. It's not John Hamm. His name's like Jeffrey, not Dahmer, but
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan, not Jeffrey Dahmer. My fault. Yeah, not Jeffrey Dahmer, but he like also works for the CIA. He goes way back with Butcher. He's also just trying to make sure that they can stop the soups. So he's talking to Butcher, and they're just like, hey, like, we're gonna figure something else out. So these guys go all the way back, but Homelander is the number one threat right now, and he knows that Butcher had a chance to kill Homelander and didn't. So he calls Butcher out on that, and I think the only reason why is it was because he would have ended up killing Ryan as well, right, or something like that. I forget how season 3 ended.
Yeah, he had to choose between taking the shot at Homelander or protecting Ryan from what was going to go down, and he obviously, kind of soft for him, so he took Ryan instead of going for Homelander.
And then we see with his ex-wife. She was dating this white man named Todd, who was like a Homelander supporter. Todd was at the rally at the end of the season, but Todd has disappeared since. He's like super into conspiracy theories and stuff like that. And on top of that, their daughter right now is kind of getting radicalized, so she's expressing concerns at that, and she tells Mother's Milk like, yo, you got to go find Todd, like this is right now it's not good for your daughter. Our Homelander's having some dreams of when he was a kid, but he's just continuing to lose his fucking mind. Ashley is still the CEO of Vought, and now we learned that Starlight, right now, she doesn't want to go by Starlight anymore. She's going by Annie January. She refuses to don her superhero name, and she's starting this little like foundation or organization to basically help troubled teens, right? It's like the Starlight Foundation or whatever. So that's been going on. The Deep is still a member of the Seven. And Damon, they found a replacement for Black Noir. I guess our theory of Sam potentially being the new Black Noir did not pan out. They got this other person as Black Noir. We don't know who this person is yet. It's like an actor or whatever, but that is interesting. And right now they got to find more members of the Seven, because I think currently they have Homelander, the Deep, Black Noir, V2, and then A-Train. So they would need 3 more members to make it into the Seven. Everyone that's part of the Seven and at Vought, they're fucking horrified of Homelander, so they're afraid to tell him no. But that makes them more mad that they won't tell him no and stand up to him. And they're kind of going through potential candidates. And there's this one potential candidate named Sister Sage, who's her superpower is she's the smartest person on Earth. And it's funny because they keep saying she's the smartest woman, and she corrects them. She's like, no, I'm the smartest person. But none of the choices seem appealing at first, and then Homelander gets fucking pissed that all of them are so scared of him, and he fucks around and he tells Deep, like, go suck A-Train's penis right now. And like for a second, Deep's like, what? Are you serious? And Homelander's like, yeah, go do it right now. So Deep walks up, and there's nothing A-Train could do because, he's terrified of Homelander. So he stands up, and then the Deep gets on his knees, and he's like, it's just like sex, bro. And Homelander's like, you guys are such losers, you won't stand up to me. So he doesn't make them do it at that time, and he kind of storms out, and he's just fucking pissed. So let me take a break there.
Yeah, the situation the Seven is in right now is like every time the Heat used to have to reload on minimum contracts, there's a lot of spots open. A Train's got a little bit of history with Sage, so we're not sure what's going to go down there. But some of the people they're putting up on that screen were just heinous. To rewind a little bit back to the scene with Mallory, Singer knowing about Newman being a soup is an interesting dynamic where it's like he knows he essentially has a month and a half to offer or else he's in big trouble. So I think that's something I didn't expect, but it's cool to bring him in as a decision maker and someone who's not in the dark on this. Butcher and Kessler is like Butcher's dark side, right? The boys are like Butcher's light side. Like when he's with them, like they're the ones that are like, no, like be nicer, like do this, be honest. But when he's with Kessler, it already feels like, they're both sipping liquor out of like a disposable cup. They're talking about all the guys they've killed in war. So that's the vibe that I get from that first meeting with him. See what else we got here. Oh, the Homelander cutscenes where he's losing his mind are perfect. Like they are so well done. I know they've done it in the past, but just like the bunch that they had to write in a row really reflect the state that he's in right now. The call out of everybody in the room connects back to that scene in season 3. Remember where he rips everybody a new one and then makes Ashley take off her wig?
Oh yeah. I do remember that. That was fun.
That's what this reminded me of.
Yeah, he just shits on everyone. Yeah,
for a moment. Did you think that the Deep was going to do it for a second? I thought he was going to do it for a second.
Yeah, I thought because they opened up the show first started with the Deep making fucking Starlight give him a blowjob. They didn't show it, but it actually happened. Like he forced her to do it. So I legitimately thought that he was gonna have to suck off A-Train.
Anything's on the table with these guys. This show is crazy.
Show is absolutely insane. All right, so we'll keep it moving. Let's see. Homelander leaves. All right, so then we always get like little pieces of Vought commercials and stuff like that in between these scenes to kind of make it feel a lot more real. And we see that there's this soup named Firecracker who's really gaining a fan base, like this alt-right fan base, and she's just basically calling everyone an Antifa pedo, stuff like that. So she's been gaining traction. She's really anti-Starlight. We'll find out later on why. But we go back to the boys' HQ, and like Huey and Starlight are still dating. Starlight's been practicing the flying. She hasn't mastered it yet, so she can only really do like 100 feet. Huey rejects a phone call from his dad, which is going to end up being really important. He's too busy with other stuff. And one thing I got to mention is like Butcher's still a part of the boys right now, but he's pretty much been demoted. Even when they're doing that meeting with Singer and Mallory, Butcher's forced to wait outside. So it is a bit of a fall from grace from him. But he's got other plans, right? So he goes to this. Is this the video store that fucking Sam was in Gen V? It looks like it, but this abandoned video store. He ends up setting a meetup with Newman, and like they kind of set up this deal to go behind everyone's back. Newman's basically like, or Butcher wants Ryan, right? Butcher's only request is to get Ryan and get him to safety and get him away from Homelander, and then in return he tells Newman, look, I'll get you the blackmail that Huey has on you, because they have all the Red River files, which basically exposes Newman as a soup, and the public still has no idea that Newman is a soup because a big part of her campaign, or at least Singer's campaign that she's been a part of, is like controlling soups and punishing soups for the fucked up shit that they do. So they strike this little backdoor deal where she's like, all right, get me the blackmail files so Huey's got nothing on me, and in return, I'll fucking make sure Ryan's safe. So MM is running the boys right now, and this is when, Huey finds out that his dad has had a stroke. So his dad is in the hospital now. He pulls up. Let's keep going. Starlight, we see her at her, like, the HQ of her foundation, and there's this dude Colin who, I didn't know who the fuck this guy was. We get a little bit more background on him as it continues, but Colin just like works at the foundation or whatever, and this is like, I think her name is Kiara or something like that. I could be fucking up these names, but that's like one of the main people who's working for a foundation. The issue is that they can't really get donations because Starlight is like, she refuses to use the name Starlight, so Annie doesn't really sound as good. She doesn't want to like use the publicity and the clout that she used to have, so they're struggling a bit to really gain any sort of traction. And there's this new budding romance between Colin and Frenchie. I had no idea that Frenchie was I thought he was into Kimiko. I think he's bisexual or something, but these two have a romantic thing going on, and I know that was a bit controversial for a lot of the boys viewers because they felt like that came out of nowhere. Let's see. And then Kimiko's a little bit jealous, right? She pretends like she's not jealous. She's like, yeah, I'm cool with all that. Like, she's not talking, right? She's using sign language, but she's like, yeah, you guys can fuck, like, no big deal. But I think she's getting a little bit jealous. I think we're setting up for a potential threesome down the line this season, but what the fuck do I know? All right, so Homelander's still finding more and more white pubes, and it's just really fucking with his head right now. He's got this portrait of Stormfront, in front, who's a fucking Nazi. So this is just so funny. And Homelander stores all of the white pubes that he plucks in a jar, which is crazy. I don't do that with the white hairs that I find, but he's been thinking to himself, and he goes back through like the potential new candidates to the Seven. As you had just mentioned earlier, Damon, most of them are pretty fucking lame. This one's name is Talon. What's her special skills? Acrobatics, lockpicking, retractable carbon steel, nail. That's actually not bad. So she's kind of like a shitty version of Wolverine. But he ends up being like, you know what? This Sister Sage sounds interesting because she's the smartest person on Earth, and he just wants answers. So he goes to visit Sister Sage. Recruits her to the Seven. She's obviously got a shit ton of books and all that, but Homelander's basically like, I'm having a midlife crisis and I don't really know what to do. She kind of reads him like a book, no pun intended. She knows that he's aging, he's freaking the fuck out, and Homelander's like, well, what do I do? Like, I kill someone, they cheer for me. I don't kill someone. Like, basically he's just like confused, right? And he's now talking about genocide. He's really floating that out there. He's like, what if I just wipe everyone out? Humans are so pointless, but they run everything. And Sister Sage tells him, like, hey, you don't want to kill all the humans, because if you kill all the humans, who's going to build your monuments? Instead, you got to, let them fight each other, tear each other apart, and then you come in as sort of the savior. So that's kind of the plan that Sister Sage comes up with. And I'm going to take a pause there.
Yeah, to just keep on building off that one for a minute, Sister Sage is a really interesting and cool character because she has the intelligence above all else, and she and Homelander also have some things in common. Both of them see non-supes as lesser thans or as insignificant compared to the powers that they hold, and both of them want to do things on their own terms. But he also finally found somebody who will challenge him, who's not just going to be a sycophant and go along with what he says, because she actually knows what the right answer is when everybody else is too scared to even make a suggestion. So I think that's kind of interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing more of them in their scenes later on too, because a lot of interesting things are revealed through that. To look back at all the video store stuff, the Huey and Starlight stuff, it feels like there's still tension between Starlight and Butcher, like there's always going to be. So that's where we're at on that one, even after he lets them know like what's going down with him and things like that later on. Everybody knows true intentions from Newman to them, but it's more of a matter of how they're going to maneuver behind each other's backs to pull it off. I feel like both sides know who the others are. It's just a matter of trying to get the drop on them. Firecracker, LGBT terror dungeon was a quote that I had highlighted here. This feels like if Alex Jones had a niece with superpowers, this is what we're getting right now. The Frenchie character stuff here, I feel like he's always been a very distressed, like trying to figure things out kind of guy. So it feels like he's just kind of going off on a new path and trying to see what's there for him. So we'll see what goes down with that. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got for this one.
All right, we'll keep it moving. Huey and Butcher have a small little heart-to-heart where I think this is when Huey tells Butcher, like, hey, yo, my dad is in a coma. He had a stroke. and he's feeling really guilty about not picking up his call, stuff like that. And Butcher's kind of just like, yeah, I get it, man. That fucking sucks. You know, like kind of they talk about life a little bit. And does Butcher tell Huey that he's gonna like does Huey know in this scene right here? I forget if that like Butcher's only got 6 months to live, or does it come later on?
I would have to go back and look at that one, but I know it's very close to right now. And I think Huey kind of knows. He just doesn't know the exact timeline on what's going down.
Yeah.
But I think it gets revealed in this episode. Yeah.
Okay. Meanwhile, all right, so we get this little scene where Kimiko and Frenchie are in the back of the van, and Kimiko's kind of like, "I'm not jealous, but I'm kind of jealous, but like, are you and Colin like there's some sexual tension there?" And then Frenchie's just like, "Yeah, man, like nah." Oh yeah, this is a crazy quote, but they're kind of giving Mother's Milk some shit because they're like, "Dude, Todd is ugly as fuck. How did he land your ex-wife? You know, he must just have a huge penis, Pete Davidson style," which is, I'm surprised he didn't just punch him right in the, well, I guess Kimiko would rip him to shreds, but that would have really pissed me off. But they're looking for Todd. This is just kind of a little side quest that they're doing. It has nothing really to do with their main thing. But all of a sudden they see Todd meet up with a few other dudes, and then they kind of get escorted out, and they don't know who this is at the time, but it's actually Sister Sage. So they're like, what the hell is going on? So Todd and two other men get escorted. Turns out they get this personal meet and greet with Homelander. They're like all diehard Homelander soup fans, and Homelander's like, yeah, you guys are my number one fans. Blah blah blah. And let's see. While this is happening, oh, actually, let me. All right, so as they're doing this little meet and greet, Homelander then out of nowhere pulls out 3 baseball bats and tells Deep, tells Black Noir V2, and tells A-Train, yeah, like beat these 3 guys to death. And Deep is like, wait, you're kidding, right? Just kind of like how you were kidding when you told me to give A-Train a blowjob, and Homelander's like, no, like I'm not kidding at all. I think Deep and Black Noir beat the fuck out of these dudes. They beat them to a pulp. R.I.P. Todd. Todd kind of sucks, so I didn't really care. But it was kind of nice to see Todd die, to be honest. Maybe I'm a bad guy. But yeah, they beat them to a bloody pulp. A-Train's like, what the fuck is going on? Even Sage is like, wow, this guy is psychotic. And then we see what their plan really is. Homelander walks out, and obviously Mother's Milk and the rest of the boys, they're kind of just staking this out. So they're like, what the fuck is Homelander doing here? Well, it turns out that his trial is about to be decided. They're about to give a verdict, and we have 2 sides, right? We have the Starlight supporters, and I forget what the name for these supporters are, but these are called like what? Like home... I don't know. I forget what the names are, but you got Homelander side. They're obviously like all about America, protecting America, soups. And then you got Starlight side. It kind of mirrors like what? Like Democrats versus fucking Republicans. It's not a great one-to-one comparison, but that's kind of what they're trying to do here. And,
Yeah.
And so as this protest is going on, we get the verdict. And the verdict is that Homelander is innocent. He's not guilty for the murder of that dude who threw the water bottle at Ryan. And Sister Sage has infiltrated Starlight's side, and she throws a water bottle at the other side to incite a riot. This all breaks out. One of Starlight's like number one people, like Kiara, I think that's her name is. I'm probably butchering this name, but she gets really fucked up in this. Colin almost gets his ass beat, but Frenchie saves him. And then, oh yeah, they just start making out in the middle of the riot, which is crazy to me. They just start getting it in the middle of the riot, and we find out that the plan is actually to make it look like Starlight's side killed 3 of Homelander's biggest supporters, right? So they dump, A-Train is forced to dump these bodies, and that's why they didn't kill the bodies, or they didn't kill those guys with superpowers. They killed them with bats to make it look like it just happened in this riot. So things aren't looking good right now. It's chaos everywhere. I'm going to take a break here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, the Starlighters and the Home Teamers, they get kind of creative with these Homelander names. The one they come up with for Ryan next episode is pretty hilarious too.
Yeah.
The riot and all this little scheme, it's evil, but it's a pretty good plan, which is something that Homelander's side hasn't had in quite a while. So she is pretty good at what she's doing here. There's a scene after this one where we get more into like the father-son stuff, but right now this is all about Homelander just getting the legal troubles out of the way. The making out during the riot, it was like, yeah, yeah, that's maybe you want to move like 30 more yards that way before you do that. But like, everyone's safe, so we're good now, I guess.
Yeah, making out during a riot is crazy behavior. Crazy,
It's a
crazy.
bold move.
Bold move, man. Um, yeah. All right. So we get to the next. Oh, her name is Kiara. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
All right. So we get to the next scene. I forgot that has like severe OCD, but he goes through kind of like the surveillance photos and images and video, and he quickly finds out like this woman is Sister Sage, so he's starting to build intel on her. And it's also rough that well, he's gonna eventually find out that Todd is dead, so his daughter no longer has her stepfather, and this does hurt because like even though he doesn't like Todd, he doesn't think that he deserves to die. And then as Damon just mentioned earlier, we get the father son scene between Ryan and Homelander, and Homelander's like, we got to do everything until we merge into one, which was fucking insane. And Ryan's just kind of like, yeah, cool. And Homelander's just struggling to be a parent. And then we see the Deep. He's got this. I think his name's Ambrosia, the octopus, or is it Ambrosius?
Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
like that. But
Ambrosius, yeah.
yeah, he's got a relationship with this octopus going on, and she's a very sweet octopus, and she's very nice and kind, and the Deep kind of vents to her, and then we see that Colin and Frenchie have been indeed fucking, and then we get Huey, just at the hospital waiting for his dad, and then out of nowhere his mom pulls up. Now we've never seen Huey's mom. Yet in the first 3 seasons. So this is our first sighting of Huey's mom, and we know that she walked out on him way back in the day. And then Butcher at this point is losing his fucking mind. He's having visions and hallucinations and stuff, and he hallucinates Becca, telling him like, you got to find a way to protect Ryan and all that stuff. And then I think it ends with Newman, just Newman in the car basically. So that's the first episode. Any thoughts on episode 1?
Yeah, to unpack the Homelander Ryan thing for a second, he's pretty much telling Ryan they're gonna pull off like a Dragon Ball Z fusion or some shit about the merging into one. This reminds me of a much stranger and more extreme version of the Andre and Polarity vibes from season 1
That's a good call.
of Gen V.
Yeah.
Like it's just like he wants him to like become him, and part of this is because Homelander knows he's aging out, so it's almost like he wants to hand off the baton while still being super famous and leech off of what Ryan's going to get as well. So it becomes straight. You said he's struggling to be a father. He's struggling to be a father. He's struggling just to be human. Like the things he does, they just seem more robotic the more camera time spends on him and his relationships with other people. Like if he's not fighting or plotting or like threatening people, he really is like a fish out of water. Huey and his dad, next episode's a little better for that. We'll get more into that for Ep 2. Butcher's hallucination and his decision not to backstab Huey.
Oh, good call. Fuck. Does that happen this episode?
Yeah, that's so right at the end.
Oh, shit. Okay, I can't show that on YouTube.
No, you can't. No, you can't.
No, talk about that. I forgot about that.
That's from the Newman Store bargain, or the movie store bargain with Newman. He says he's going to send along the copy that Huey has of her Red River files to make it so she can make her old identity disappear, which is huge because if those ever get out, the public's going to know she's a soup, which is not what she's been telling everybody. So Becca comes to Butcher in like a Shakespearean like Hamlet vision to like don't screw him over. You always screw people over. So instead of sending her the files, he sends her a picture of his asshole, and so he's a good guy, but at what cost? We'll find out. This sets him further back from getting Ryan, but this makes it so him and Huey are not going to start off on bad terms from Ep 1.
Yeah, I gotta say that So that is how it ends with Newman in the SUV, and she gets the text from Butcher, and she thinks it's gonna be the files, and it's just him spreading his ass. I thought his ass was gonna be a lot hairier. That's all I'm gonna say.
They said it was her legit reaction. Like they actually sent her the photo for the first time, and like
geez.
that's why she cracks like this. If you look in, she cracks the smallest smile when she has her hand over her face.
I'm so scared to move. I can't move the cursor because it's gonna show straight asshole on YouTube. But yeah. Wait, so you're saying when they filmed it, they showed her an actual asshole, and they got that genuine reaction?
Yes, I'm pretty sure it's legit.
All
I
right.
don't know if it's actually Carl Urban's, but like they did show that to her.
All right. All right. I'm not gonna. There's this area of the screen record that I could click, and then it just might pop out Butcher's ass or someone's asshole. And I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that to you guys. But if you want to watch it, go to Amazon and watch it. All right. So let's see. All right, episode 2. Wow, we're rolling through this. I got a basketball game in 2 hours, so we're making good time so far. I'm also drinking, David, right now, so I hope I don't fucking like do stupid shit during the game. But all right, so we open up the episode and we get like we're actually getting a scene from the movie. This looks like The Wire. This is like the couch in the middle of The Wire, but it's basically so.
That's what they said it's actually based off of. They model it after the projects or the towers rather.
Okay, yeah. So this would have been not Wallace. This would have been D. It would have been D. So yeah, we get this drug dealer, and then we see A Train pull up, and A Train selling drugs, but he's a soup in this. I think this is supposed to be like some movie based on his life, and then out of nowhere, as A Train is like pulled selling drugs, you see Will Ferrell pull up like almost like a white Coach Carter who's like, "You could be so much better, man. Like, don't sell drugs." Dude, the boys are so funny. So that scene gets cut, and we see that they're just filming more Vought propaganda. A Train is pissed because he's like, "Yo, my brother was not a drug dealer or whatever. I didn't come from a house of drug dealers. Like, you guys are just fucking playing the black angle." We see this director again, and he gives Will Ferrell major props. He's like, "Yeah, dude, this is Oscar shit." And then he kind of shits on A Train. He's like, "Dude, you just gotta do better. Your acting kind of sucks." Anyways, we keep going. But we can see A Train right now is more and more just like, fuck this shit. Oh, also, this was pretty funny. So we actually hear Noir talk, right? Like, whoever they put in as new Black Noir, he's kind of like talking to A Train. He's like, "Dude, what the fuck was that? Like, I didn't like, what are we doing here? I have no direction. Like, hey, I'm pumped to be in the 7, but what we just did the other day, killing all those guys, like, that was insane. Like, this dude, I love the new Black Noir. He's so fucking funny, but he's just kind of like, what the fuck is going on here? I've never actually murdered anyone before." And A Train's just like, "Dude, you have no idea. Like, just get out of here. Don't ask any more questions. This is so much worse than you could possibly imagine." All right, so that happens, and then obviously Starlight is at the hospital, watching over her Kiara, who got really fucked up, probably broke a leg and stuff. And then we kind of see the aftermath of the riots, where there's 2 Starlighters. They're just black guys that get suspected or accused of murdering the people who are supporting Homelander, the home teamers. So it's a frame job. So far, it's not looking good for Starlight. Huey's watching that same stuff, and then we kind of see Huey's mom for the first time, and Huey's pissed at his mom. So his mom's been away from his life since he was like 6 or something like that, and his mom is actually selling, like, she's like a salesperson for Vought beauty products, which obviously is a brutal thing for Huey to process because Vought killed his girlfriend. That's how we kicked off this entire show, and his mom just sounds kind of tone deaf, and Huey's obviously pissed off at his mom. But it turns out that his mom actually has, like, what is it? She like, what did she get?
She has power of attorney over his father and has the right to like the whole DNR approval and all that deal. And it was signed over to her within the last year or 2.
Okay, yeah. So that obviously fucks with Huey a lot because he's like, "Dude, what the fuck? Like, you and my dad were estranged, and now you guys are like, now you have power of attorney. You don't deserve this." Then we cut to Colin and Frenchie. Frenchie's quickly dipping, and then we see Kimiko. She's getting a little bit nervous. She's in therapy, or she's at like a speech therapist because she still can't talk, and the speech therapist is trying to dig into Kimiko's childhood and into her past, and this triggers something, and she kind of loses her mind and runs out. Now we're back at the boys' HQ, and Butcher's just pissing everyone off, and no one at the boys' HQ, no one is a member of the boys likes Butcher other than Huey at this point. Mother's Milk is sick of his shit. Everybody's sick of his shit. So MM, speaks to Butcher in private and is just like, "Dude, what's your fucking problem? Like, you're out of control." And I think he fires him, right? Yeah, he fires him right here. He's like, "Get out. Nobody wants you here." And it's a tough scene for Butcher because he started the boys, and now, he's got nothing else left. So then we cut to Vought, and we're with these guys again. I think he doesn't have a dick anymore, right? Didn't he like get his dick like ripped off or something because he was banging a soup? Or it was like, it froze off. Yes, that's what it was. He was banging like one of the soups with ice powers. I forget the name.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
Yeah.
Something happened to him very, yeah.
It is.
Man, I really should have done research on this.
Yeah, it's been a while since I watched it. I ripped this all last August, and we have not had time. We'll be cleaner for the next episode, I swear. But fucking,
Yeah.
who drops 3 episodes at once? That shit's so fucked up, man. You got to think about the content creators. We're trying our best here. But yeah, this dude apparently like he's fine with no dick, and they're pitching their brand for Ryan, right? So Homelander's pumped about that, and as you had mentioned earlier, the superhero name that they have for Ryan is Homeboy, which is kind of funny. It's kind of lit. I'm not gonna lie. So Ryan's kind of like, what the fuck? And they're like, yeah, this is gonna be your brand. Homelander's pumped, and but Sister Sage is the only one that's like, that's a terrible idea, and she tells it as it is. But this actually pisses off Homelander. He's not ready to hear the truth. He's not ready to get honest feedback. And Sister Sage's whole point is like, you can't brand Ryan as part of the Seven and part of you because he's the first natural born soup. So if you start tying him to the rest of you guys and you guys are all genetically like, you guys are all artificial soups, then he's not going to stand on his own. If he's going to stand on his own and kind of be like the the difference maker and stuff, like he has to truly stand on his own. Now that's an ego thing, as you had just mentioned earlier, because Homelander is going to have to really pass the torch to his son, and that bothers Homelander. So and everyone else at the Seven's like, who the fuck are you? And Sister Sage is like, Homelander wants me here. So there's nothing else that they can really say about it. As she's getting in the elevator, we see Ashley get in with her, and they kind of have like a little like pissing contest. And Ashley's just like, dude, you shouldn't talk back to Homelander because he's a psycho and he'll just kill you. Sister Sage isn't really worried about it, and she's like, tells Ashley, go make yourself useful. And then we see the Deep come in. Ashley kind of bitches out the Deep. Ashley walks out of the elevator, and Sister Sage is just like, why would you let her talk to you like that? You're a soup. She's not. Like, you're better than her. So I'm going to take a quick break there. But what'd you think about that?
Yeah, that one, there's the line she drops in there, which is just savage, where she's like, yeah, maybe you should start lactating and let him play with your boobs like he did with Madeline Stowell, or else you're gonna end up like her or something like that. So like she reads Ashley right away, talks about how like the hair fell out, like the wig. Um, when she talks to the Deep, we see her soup supremacism take over and are reminded why maybe she's not so cool. Like she has all these great traits as a character, but then she is also like a eugenicist pro soup character who does want to get rid of humans or at least like curtail humans a little bit. So that's her danger where that is. To wind it back to the A Train opening scene, Will Ferrell is the white savior. When he said yayo and gangbangers, I couldn't handle that one. That was hilarious. Just like coming out of his mouth with that classic Will Ferrell. Like it was like he was acting and kicking and screaming, but he was talking in this like parody here. Um, it's funny because Brink, like Coach Brink, was not a great dude, as you know. And he's just like, yeah, come back with me, back to the suburbs. It kind of connects to the way that A Train has compromised himself so much. Like it's really tough to watch. But you remember the Kylie Jenner takeoff with the Pepsi scene from a couple, I think it's like the A Train
Yeah.
cola or whatever. It's tough to watch, but he
Yeah, I
did
do.
choose this path when he decided to cozy up to Homelander and betrayed Supersonic and all that jazz. The Hollywood industrial complex satire on this show is one of my favorite parts. Some of it is over the top, but like that's the point. It matches the tone of the comics a lot in those respects as well. The Annie and the Huey hospital scene. Watching Huey's mom come into the fold gave me a little anxiety because this is like every millennial's worst fear, aside from the catastrophic mortgage rates, that your parents get sucked into some kind of mid-level marketing scheme and slowly lose their grasp on reality. Uh, Huey hasn't been around his dad, and his dad is a desperate dude. So it makes sense why his dad would like all of a sudden give this to the mom because Huey hasn't been answering the calls and his dad has always been super frantic. So like, Huey's got to pay a cost for all the stuff he's been up to with the boys. Frenchie's attempted walk of shame. It was kind of funny when Colin's like, "Oh, you didn't even you just leave the money on the dresser or whatever." Like he's just trying to hit it and quit it. So that was kind of funny. Frenchie's going through a lot, man. He's been roped into this crisis that keeps on escalating. He just got over his stuff from a season or two ago, kind of that survivor's guilt and all of the people that he's wronged in the past. So then trying to cope with like figuring out what his sexuality is. Like this man is just buzzing right now. Like he's just trying to like make sense of everything. Um, Kimiko's therapy scene. She also, her and Frenchie, they're tying them on a very similar character arc this season, where instead of what Frenchie's dealing with, Kimiko is trying to unpack her past based on what she went through with like the Shining Light. They're going to need her to win this thing. So she has been shot up with it, I believe, 2 or 3 doses of artificial Gen V, or not Gen V, Compound V, because she lost her powers from Soldier Boy.
Yeah.
So she could also have a cancerous growth. She could also be like on a bad path. We're not really sure yet. So things do feel a little weird for both of them between each other. Like their communication is definitely gonna need some like catching up. Butcher being out after he admits that he's dying and gives them a timeline. This felt really cold, but I get it. Will this be the last time he works with them until he dies? I mean, I have my doubts. He's pretty essential here. Sage's idea for Ryan is objectively better than what Ashley has cooking up. Yeah, I believe so. I believe at this point they know. He's told them and they're still like, all right, man, like you still got to get out of here. So MM is definitely
this is the scene where he tells him.
Yeah, MM is just like, doesn't care, has seen this before.
He's on his revenge tour.
Yeah. That's all I got for this section.
All right, cool. Good stuff. All right, so we're going to keep pulling it. All right. Back to the boys HQ. They're kind of they're watching or actually is this, okay, yeah, no. So we get back to HQ after they kick out fucking Butcher, and then they're kind of figuring out who Sister Sage is, and they're like, all right, she's the smartest person on the planet. She's obviously working with Homelander now. Like, this is going to be a bit of a problem. And they believe, like, they're figuring out that A-Train was part of the framing of the 2 Starlight supporters for the murder of Todd and the other 2 Homelander supporters. Then we cut to the Vought side where, you know, they're kind of getting Ryan ready for his first save, but it's obviously going to be staged. So they got actors playing criminals and stuff like that, and the Deep wants to be a part of it, and Ryan's kind of rehearsing how the whole save is going to go. So all this is staged as fuck. And then for the first time, the Deep tells Ashley, calls her a stupid bitch, channels his inner Pat McAfee, and he stands up for himself for the first time. But there's this one moment where Homelander, I think, catches some of the director's talk, or I think the director's name is Seth, but he catches Seth basically saying like, yo, Ryan's got the face for Hollywood, all these things, like kid's a star, like no wrinkles and all that stuff. Last time we did all this stuff with the 7, we had to airbrush all the wrinkles out. It just further preys on Homelander's insecurities of getting older. Let's go. All right, so now so what's it called? MM and them are holed up at a hotel, like they're getting ready for their next mission, which is like to basically like stake out Sister Sage. I think this is when they go to that convention, right? So there's like that. There's like this
TruthCon.
Yeah, so there's this convention called TruthCon where they tracked Sister Sage to, and it's just basically a convention of all these conspiracy theorists. They're all Soup supporters, stuff like that. A lot of Homelander supporters there, stuff like that. Are they home fighters again? What was the term?
Home teamers, which is, you know, it's all right.
It's all right. But Butcher has ambushed them there, and then MM's like, "How the fuck did you find us?" And Butcher's just like, "Dude, like I'm the guy, basically." And he's like, "I'm gonna help you guys, and you're not my boss, so I can kind of do what I want." So MM's like, "Okay, fine." So they go through this convention, and there's some stuff that Kimiko sees that triggers her. She sees like the stuff accusing like the child, you know, there's like some child trafficking stuff, right? I forget what the sign necessarily says. Oh, child freedom fighters, like there's actually nothing, like this sign's actually not that bad, relatively speaking, because it's basically just saying like there are children that are kidnapped and forced to like be terrorists, and that's kind of what happened to Kimiko. But just seeing this triggers her. It really pisses her off and gives her flashbacks to her childhood along with her brother. So there's some trauma there, and she just starts getting hammered, which is never good. I say that as I'm starting to drink right now, so it's probably I am Kimiko. So they're just kind of going through the convention. They see this other dude. I forget what his name is, but he's like he's one of his superpowers is that he can duplicate himself.
I think it's a Splinter.
Splinter, yeah. So Splinter's there. And then also Firecracker from earlier is there as well. So there are 2 Soups present there. But Splinter is just kind of the sicko who kind of like duplicates himself. Um, and then Firecracker's there. She's giving a speech and she's accusing Starlight of being a pedophile. Man, this is like the Drake Kendrick thing all over again. But they're kind of just surveying this whole thing, and then Frenchie is getting text from Colin basically saying like, "You want to fuck?" And Kimiko catches that, and she's pretending not to be jealous again, but she is jealous. This all kind of comes to a head. I can't show that scene for YouTube purposes, but
Yeah, if you couldn't show Butchers, you
yeah, I can't show that scene. I almost clicked on that scene. That's why if I'm hesitating as I'm going through this recap, it's because I got to be really careful about which scenes I bring up right now. But basically, Huey and Starlight kind of have a moment where Huey's just like, I think Huey is telling her like, hey, you do have to like use your voice, and you can't be afraid of embracing your soup identity because it's not necessarily a bad thing, and we could really use that type of help right now. So she's hesitant, but she's thinking about it. And then we see the scene where A-Train is actually talking to his nephew. So I think it's his older brother who got paralyzed last time, and it was kind of A-Train's fault. But he's talking to his nephews after filming the scene. He's kind of like, shooting the shit, and his nephews look up to him. But then that's when his brother kind of pulls up and is just like, yeah. His brother tells his sons, who are A-Train's nephews, like, yo, A-Train's actually a giant fraud. Like, none of his saves have been real. Like, he's not a hero. So pretty brutal, but, A-Train deserves it. Back to the convention. Things are heating up, and then I think Sister Sage kind of sets them up, right? She knows she's being followed this entire time, so she ends up luring all of the boys into this one room where they're supposed to get ambushed by Firecracker and Splinter. So let me just jump ahead to that scene. Actually, real quick before I go there, punches Butcher in the face, which was long overdue because Butcher's kind of been taking advantage of and not respecting him for a while. A-Train ends up actually meeting Huey and Starlight at the boys' HQ, and he actually gives them tape that shows that the two Starlighters who were accused of killing the home teamers, it wasn't them. So he basically gives them information, and which could obviously it's going to put his life in danger. But they're kind of like, why are you helping us? And he just doesn't say anything and just kind of runs off. So he gives them tape, and he's just like, well, his reasoning is that, like, you guys didn't blow up my spot when I was talking to my nephews, basically. So actually, let me take a break here because a lot just happened before we get into the big brawl at that fucking convention.
Yeah, TruthCon showdown. Let's see. The idea of Ryan having to rehearse his save was interesting in the sense where, like, I didn't know that Vought manufactured so many of these saves. Like, it's almost as if a Marvel green screen is behind everything that's going on here. So that's going to come up later on as well. TruthCon, of course, Butcher pops up. The Firecracker being called Firecracker is a pretty funny name if you think about it. Frenchie,
I didn't even think about that. So just, yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, she kind of is. In a moment, like Frenchie, in a moment like this, he like has his like phone out at one point and is like texting Colin. It's like, Frenchie, man, you got to keep personal and business separate right now. Just keep on going. But then Kimiko one-ups him by downing like 8 tall boys. So I guess everyone's just kind of having some fun right now.
Oh God.
Yeah. Everybody, the A-Train side scene, everybody's answer is like, it's going to vary based on opinion, but I think his side plot is one of the most captivating to me because of how they built it up over so many seasons. Like, he's very conflicted in every scene because he hasn't been true to himself. Plus, his brother ending up in the wheelchair was indirectly his fault, which adds a whole other layer to that. Again, I love the fact they're building up the idea of the manufactured saves over and over again because it gives us a pretty good finale with what goes down with Ryan. Sister Sage and Firecracker, I thought it was cool when Firecracker explains why she does what she does. She wants everybody to feel like they have a purpose. Like, you can loosely connect to Homelander's own insecurities and his mortality because everybody just wants to believe they left a mark that will last. So she's taking this, like, I would say lower socioeconomic class, white trash area, like this demographic of people, and she's trying to give them a voice, which sounds noble when she says it out loud, but then the actual result is like not that at all. Butcher, you can't say anything about MM's wife. Like that was way out of bounds there. So he was going to have to get cocked for that one. And then other than that, great finale for this scene.
Yeah, yeah. All right, I gotta be really careful about not clicking on that the train that was being run. But all right, so we cut to the rehearse save. Now they're actually running it in real time. There's people in public. Now these are all actors, obviously. So Ryan's kind of going through the steps, and then Homelander comes out of nowhere. Now Ryan wasn't supposed to like actually toss this dude into the building, but Homelander tells him to do it. So he tosses him into the building, just straight up destroys the actor. His arm falls off, all that stuff. Obviously very traumatic for Ryan, traumatic for this young girl who's also an actor. And that's his first save. It's all live streamed and stuff. It looks like a successful save, but it's actually a fucking disaster. Now this is where we get the confrontation finally, where Sister Sage kind of like sets them all up, and we got multiple copies of Splinter. Oh my god, I almost just showed it. Dude, this is insane. I might just have to skip through the scene and just quickly run it over because there's so much just dong that's just being like swung around this entire scene. We're gonna get in trouble, so I'm just gonna jump ahead. But basically, what happens in the scene is that they brawl. It's it's Frenchie, it's Kimiko versus Sister Sage walks out because she can't really fight. So she just kind of walks off and lets them do the thing. It's them versus Firecracker and then all the copies of Splinter. It like they kind of outnumber Firecracker and Splinter at first, but Splinter just keeps making new copies of himself. Ultimately, Butcher comes out of nowhere, kills Splinter, Firecracker runs off. The fight ends up spilling over to a nearby conference room or conference area where there's like a bar mitzvah or whatever, bat mitzvah going on. I'm just going to jump ahead. All right, there we go. Because I accidentally just looked and there was so much fucking dick just in those scenes. All right. So, Starlight and Huey so that night, Ryan's kind of talking to Homelander, and Ryan is distraught over how that whole thing worked. Homelander has brought him a milkshake, and Homelander's like, don't worry about it. These humans are worthless. Just not being a very good dad, and then Homelander takes his milkshake with him. Then the next day, obviously with A-Train's tape, the two guys that were wrongfully accused of murdering the home teamers, they get exonerated. So all of Starlight's supporters are having, a celebration. And then Huey actually gets Starlight to come out and step out in front of the stage, and everyone's cheering. She's a little bit uncomfortable about it. Now, at this point, Frenchie is grappling with demons, so he's just resorting to alcohol and drugs. So he's just getting high all the time now, getting absolutely fucked up. He ends up having a call with his, is it Cherie?
Yes.
Like an old fuck buddy, very sexy accomplice. She's so hot. But they're just kind of talking, and then she knows about Colin. So I guess Colin, his dad used to be a judge or something, and then back in the day when Frenchie was in the underworld, he ended up murdering Colin's entire family. So that's why Frenchie's been having such brutal realizations every time he's with Colin. Get back to Huey. He's in the hospital, and he confronts his mom, and he's just like, what the fuck? Huey's like, you shouldn't be allowed to have power of attorney. I'm going to challenge you for it. And he just sprints out. Kimiko, meanwhile, is kind of grappling with her own demons, and she decides, hey, you know what? Maybe the speech pathologist or the therapist was right. I do have to explore, kind of the trauma that was caused in my childhood and figure out what the hell is actually going on. So she finds out that there's this, like, the terrorist cell that abducted her and her brother when they were young. She finds out they have, like, a little group in New York City. So she enlists Frenchie, and they end up going on a mission. Meanwhile, Butcher pulls up to MM and is just like, hey, you got to be a better leader. You got to be more ruthless. You had a chance to kill Sister Sage at the conference, and you didn't do it. If you're going to be a leader of the boys, you got to make tough decisions. You can't be soft. And I think he asked like basically for MM's help, right? In getting Ryan back, and MM is just like, it's too fucking late. I don't blame MM because he's gotten fucking disrespected by Butcher so many times at this point, but that ends the episode. So thoughts on that episode?
The last couple Homelander and Ryan scenes, he's too selfish to be anything resembling a dad. When he shows up to the save, when he pressures Ryan into essentially murdering a guy off the side of a building, And when he like gives the milkshake, takes it back after he berates his son a little bit and like questions him, this just was never going to work out. So I think the dread that people felt last season when Ryan chose Homelander, just hold your breath for a little bit, because there's no way Homelander doesn't mess this up irreparably. It's just not going to work out for him. He just doesn't have the tools to do it. Butcher, go to the rescue, baby. We had a feeling something like this might happen. It was satisfying to watch him work that crowbar into the scene, or the tire iron into the scene a little bit. Overall, that was a really, really fun
I'm just
fight
not
scene.
gonna go there.
Oh yeah. That was a really fun fight scene. Homelander tries to explain back with Ryan, like, accidents happen all the time. It's like, oh, that's why you're mad, because the guy died? Don't worry about it. Like, it's just too much, man. He's just such a sociopath. Frenchie relapsing was tough because he'd been sober for a minute. So I do understand why he would be extra distressed. Because at first, when it was just him and Colin, I was like, is he like making this much? Is like all of his issue the fact that he's like afraid to like come out officially? Like, is that where the drama is for him in his head? But the fact that he's got that compounded with the idea that he killed the guy's family too, like, holy shit. That's pretty much what I got for this one. Kimiko falls back into violence, similar to Frenchie falling back into using. So that was a connection I found there.
Yep. And then Huey talks about, I just got to cover what day, but Huey says the last day he left, or he saw his mom, he was really young. She walked him to school, said, we're going to go see Billy Joel or something. And then she said, I'll be back. She just never came back. I shouldn't laugh at that. That's fucked up. But anyways, yeah, it was just.
That's like the updated, like, dad went out for a pack of cigarettes.
All right, episode 3. We're running through this. So far, we've been going an hour. Missed some things, but I think we've done a pretty fucking good job so far covering this. We got one more episode left as this trio, so let's start this off. We get a rally going on that is being hosted by Homelander. I think this is him introducing the new members of the Seven, and they've added 2 new members that they're about to introduce, and then so obviously we get the home teamers there to support. At the same time, we get the protesters in the Starlighters. That's going down, and Homelander introduces the 2 new members are going to be Sister Sage. Actually, before he introduces them, he gives, like, obviously a speech. He's basically saying, like, they want to replace you with non-binary, godless, atheists or whatever, something like that. You kind of know what he's saying. So he introduces all the existing members of the Seven, and then introduces, Sister Sage. Is it here? Okay, Sister Sage, and she's not happy about being introduced because she wants to do her work in the shadows, and now that she's been introduced, she can no longer do or be a part of covert operations. And the other person they introduce is Firecracker. Now, Homelander's not pumped about Firecracker. We'll talk about that a little bit more later, but Firecracker was chosen by Sister Sage. So I guess that is why in the previous episode, Sister Sage was at that convention, because she was there to basically recruit Firecracker as another member of the Seven. Now they have 6 members. It's the Deep, A-Train, Homelander, Black Noir, V2, Sister Sage, and Firecracker. They got one more spot open, and Homelander basically says, hey, it'll be my son's once he's ready. All right. Now we cut to Butcher chilling with fake John Hamm. Was it Kessler? So Kessler's like, listen, we need to get Ryan under control, because they think Ryan can end up being more powerful than Homelander, and he could be the one to destroy Homelander. At the very least, they cannot have Ryan turn out to be another Homelander, because that would be a disaster. So he gives Butcher some, like, what is it, halothane or some shit? It's something that's like a drug that gets you high, right? Like puts you out.
So he gives him carfentanil to give to him to then put him under halothane after he gets put under by, like, the super fentanyl.
Okay. All right. So he gives him fentanyl. So they're just like, hey, Butcher, get Ryan here and then just basically drug him. And then we're going to take him to this, like, safe room that Grace Mallory has built that's, like, soup proof, and it'll be fine. So Butcher's obviously hesitant to do this because it involves a lot of deceit, and he cares about the boy. And but Kessler's like, dude, you got to do what you got to do. And he's kind of a dick to Butcher. They do go way back, and I think Butcher has saved Kessler a bunch. So this is just the way these guys communicate. But Kessler's like, hey, why don't you go back to your team? Oh, wait, you don't have a team anymore, which I thought was a bit unnecessary. That was a low blow. But back at the little pep rally to introduce the members of the Seven, Ryan gets brought out and teased as the last member. Okay, then we cut to inside the Vought offices, and Homelander's like, why did you pick Firecracker as our sixth member? She's a fucking idiot. And then Sister Sage is like, don't worry about it. She'll make your supporters, she'll galvanize your supporters essentially. And we need her to help make your supporters fight against the Starlighters more. So that's basically it. But Sister Sage does express her displeasure at being publicly revealed to Homelander. And Homelander's like, yo, you got to trust me. So there's a little bit of tension there already. And then Homelander listens to Firecracker give a little speech at her press conference, and he's just like, what a fucking bozo. Very disappointed. Meanwhile, back at Starlight's office, she's I think this is like an advisor, like a lawyer or someone, but basically Huey is asking this dude, how do I get rid of my mom's power of attorney? Like, I don't want her to have this power. And this guy is basically telling Huey, like, there's nothing you could do. It's pretty cut and dry. Your dad's in a coma, so unless he wakes up and changes that, like, she's got all the power. As this is going down, some fucking radical, or not Frenchie. Frenchie is radical, but not Frenchie. Frenchie walks in. All right, this dude pulls up at the office, and he's been radicalized, and he believes that the Starlighters are hiding children in the basement. So he comes in, he's like, show me where the pedos, are at, blah, blah, blah. Pulls out a gun, and Frenchie comes in, just fucking knocks this dude out. So good on Frenchie. And let's see. And then Colin, I think, is like basically fixing Frenchie up from like a fight that he got in earlier. They're kind of having another romantic moment in the bathroom, and Colin tries to make out with Frenchie, and Frenchie's like, I can't kiss you right now. And Colin's like, but why? And Frenchie's like, whatever. Well, no, they kiss. I lied. They do start making out. All right, I forgot about that. All right, so then we cut to this is Singer's office. All of them are fucking panicking because they know that time is ticking, and they're hosting this meeting right now without notifying the vice president, which is obviously, like, if she finds out, what she's going to, it's going to be a very direct move against her. But they're trying to figure out right now within Congress, like, how many members are like in Vought's pockets, how many are neutral, how many could potentially be our supporters. And as they're having this little meeting, Victoria Newman pulls up, and she kind of crashes the meeting. She's like, oh yeah, you guys didn't tell me about this meeting. And Singer's like, oh yeah, just totally slipped my mind, but glad to have you, which is, it's such a bullshit lie because she's his VP. So there's like, they're both onto each other, and basically they're proposing an act that's going to remove the Supes from having like any power in the military, and Newman is against that. And which was interesting because Newman kind of started off as anti-Supe, but she can't be too anti-Supe because she is a Supe. So she's against this act that would remove power from the Supes. And Singer's just like, dude, let's put them back in Hollywood. We can't have them involved in the military-industrial complex. So I'm going to take a break right there.
Yeah, I think part of the reason might be that she realizes Homelander is still a threat to her and her family if she were to do something so sweeping with legislation. And she does have to guard against the fact that her identity might get out there at some point. From the beginning, Homelander's tone has shifted like crazy. Instead of it just being like two opposing sides, it's like all Starlighters should die. They're the scum of the earth, like some really dehumanizing stuff. So he is definitely off the deep end with this one. And then the new Seven is just not a super cohesive group. It feels like a focus group that was like, it's basically Sister Sage and a bunch of people to fill certain roles in a plan. It's not really a team that you want to build off in the future. So even if like this stays the crew for a little bit, I highly doubt that this is going to be who's in the Seven a season or two from now. Like, someone's going to be reshuffled, someone's going to die, because it's just not great right now. with Butcher and Kessler's scheme, it is such like an over the top arrangement they have. Like there's no way it's going to go the way they want. It'll produce an even worse future for Ryan if it happens. So this is why Butcher's going to have some reservations on it for sure. The Colin and Frenchie thing, to me, it feels like this is where like Colin realizes that maybe Frenchie isn't just a guy who works at a foundation with Starlight here, because the way he disarmed the dude during the break in and just kind of teed off on him definitely gave some clues on that one. Tension with Newman and Singer, like that's got to come to a head at some point. Um, I do I do wonder if they're going to be able to get it done in time. I feel like Newman is going to end up real close to that presidential deadline
Exploding his head.
because yeah, because it's
It,
like I didn't realize that almost every soup had this crazy healing factor until I like started looking at this season more,
yeah,
where it's you shoot her in the head, she's still like there. Like you have to behead her to get her like out of there.
yeah. He's gonna this. My not so hot take is his head is exploding at some point this season. Maybe I'm wrong. All right, let's keep it moving. All right, so Kimiko recruits Frenchie on her trip to basically commit a lot of atrocities against that terrorist cell organization. Meanwhile, Starlight's trying to teach Huey how to fight. It's not going to work because Huey's kind of a puss. All right, so this scene was kind of funny. Like, this is how Butcher gets into contact with Ryan, but Ryan's playing like a VOT video game called Tournament of Heroes, and Butcher basically logs online, and I think his I think his handle is "Don't be a cunt," and but he plays as Crimson Countess, and Ryan's playing as Soup Ryan. So I thought that was pretty fucking funny. So Butcher's just talking to him like in the video game, and he's just like, "Hey, why don't hold on, let me go back. Where did I just go? Yeah, he's like, I want to talk to you, Ryan. Like we got to talk." And Ryan's like, "Fine, we'll talk." So that's how Butcher gets into contact with Ryan. Meanwhile, Homelander gets propositioned by Firecracker. She's basically like, "I'll do anything you want," and he's just so annoyed. His mind is all over the place. So this is before their next 7 meeting, and Noir is talking to Ashley. He's just like, "I need a role. Like I need to know what I'm doing and stuff." I would just tell Black Noir V2, he's a funny dude. Just you got to keep your mouth shut because you're gonna get your head ripped off pretty soon if you just keep talking. And even Homelander's like, "Shut the fuck up, Noir." So they have their first real new 7 meeting, and Ashley gets fired. Not publicly, but she basically is like only going to be the figurehead for VOT now, and Sister Sage is going to be the one actually calling the shots. And it's a tough moment for Ashley because she's sacrificed everything, her integrity, everything to be CEO, and she's kind of just got to do the walk of shame out of the office, and she's dropping a bunch of shit. And before she leaves, Homelander's like, "Yeah, do one more thing for me. Get a hold of Ryan, will ya?" So just very, very disrespectful. Sage then addresses everyone, and she's basically like, "One of you guys here, or someone who was working for Crime Analytics, gave the video surveillance footage to Starlight's side. That's how they were able to get the 2 accused men off." The Deep was in charge of Crime Analytics, so he gets taken off of Crime Analytics, and now Crime Analytics is going to be run by Sister Sage. And on top of that, Sister Sage is like, "I'm going to need every single employee that worked for you, like a name of them, and they're just going to interrogate every single employee." Okay. So on top of that, Ryan has received offers from other superhero teams, which I thought was interesting. I thought the only superhero teams were VOT, but I guess not. So that's an interesting aspect there. Ambrosius, that's the name. Ambrosius is the name of the octopus, but the Deep is just all fucked up right now. He also does not want to be a part of the 7 anymore. This shit is freaking him out. And Ambrosius is like, "You're not having sex with me anymore. Like, what's going on? You're neglecting me." And the Deep is just like, yeah, I'm okay. Whatever. We see Ashley. She's been banging the anchor for VOT. What's his name? Do you know what the anchor's name is?
I think it's Cam Coleman.
Cam Coleman. Okay, yeah. So hold on. She's been begging Cam Coleman. He likes to get dominated, and she's basically like, "Well, I'm gonna quit." And I don't know if she's gonna be allowed to quit, to be honest. All right. So then let's keep it moving. Butcher is baking cookies, and he's going to use to drug Ryan. And Ryan comes over, and at first he doesn't want the cookies, so like they kind of dodge a bullet there. They start talking, and they have a little bit of a heart to heart where Butcher's just like, dude, I do care about you, but the reason why I fucking wanted to or actually that's not this part right now, but Ryan wants to leave, and Butcher's like, let's go play some foosball. All right, then we get to I'm gonna take a break right after this scene, but we get to a scene between A Train and MM. So MM knows that A Train is the one who leaked the footage to them. So his goal is to try to turn A Train on their side, which would be very, very important and very helpful if they could get another soup. They basically have a conversation, and MM's like, why don't you come to our side? And A Train's like, fuck that. And MM's like, yeah, but I know that you're stressed out. I know you don't believe in what's going on over at Vought. Like, come, just be on our side. And then A Train's just like, dude, Sage is on a manhunt for whoever leaked the footage. Like, people are gonna die over that. Like, I could die. Then we see the scenes where Kimiko fucking goes on that rampage, and Frenchie is high the entire fucking time. Easily could have died, but fortunately Kimiko takes care of everything. But as they're in this brawl, I think Kimiko ends up like finding someone that she recognized when she was younger, like some girl that she recognized from when she was let me see if I can fast forward to that scene. Yeah, this girl right here, she fights she recognizes from when she was younger, and that kind of freaks Kimiko out. And Kimiko doesn't kill her, right?
Nope, doesn't kill her. She ends up running off.
Okay, so she ends up running off. And then, so they go on this little successful rampage. I'm going to take a pause before we see Ryan and Butcher playing foosball.
The scene with the people at the Seven, or the members of the Seven, just trying to come together. Homelander keeps on zoning out, in and out of like reality. You can get a sense that he's slipping a little bit. There was a pretty funny moment where he's getting broken out of his trance by Firecracker, pretty much propositioning him over and over again. She's like, I'll do anything for you. And it was a little desperate, a little obvious there. The shift in the power structure is interesting too, because this is a connection to when Stan Edgar warned Homelander about what would happen when Homelander got rid of everybody and tried to run this on his own, because it's going to be an imminent disaster because he can't handle all the odds and ends of it. Sister Sage is only going to be able to do so much on this. This is like, okay, you took the plane off autopilot because you wanted to go faster. Now see how easy it is to fly it. So that's what's going to go down there. We'll see more how that develops in the future. The Deep is a mess right now. He is really trying to recover from that weird detour he took into that Scientology takeoff from couple seasons back. Still hasn't landed on his feet yet.
In Ohio?
Yeah, in Ohio. And also like crime analytics. Like, why would we give the Deep crime analytics, guys? Like, what do you think was gonna happen?
Yeah.
This is like there's a reason that like when you watch a footballer, I remember it was a hockey game once that I went to, and every single like dude on the hockey team was like sports management or something like that, or like exercise science. You didn't see anybody in like neurophysio, like no one's doing that. So we just got to keep things. We got to match it to the guy in front of us right now. Nothing against hockey players. I'm sure there's some very smart ones, but at the University in Maine that year, I guess that wasn't quite the case. Kimiko and Frenchie's revenge tour. That is interesting because they're both sort of losing it in a way. Those visuals Frenchie was getting of Kimiko were pretty trippy. And then he confronts the guilt of not only is his new partner is like somebody that he's killed family members of in the past, he also sees everybody else that he's killed behind as well, which is pretty creepy. And one right before that, MM and A Train is the last one I'll really get into here. This shows us that A Train might be turning a new leaf and actually staying there, which makes sense because he almost turned last season, but then he snaked out at the last minute. It's probably going to mean he dies because of a Homelander laser blast by the end of the season, but at least he will go out a champ.
Yeah. He'll die with his integrity somewhat recovered a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. So Butcher and Ryan are playing foosball. They're kind of bonding again, and Butcher basically tells Ryan, like, "Listen, man, I care about you, but I'm a bad guy. I'm a bad guy. I hurt people. People around me get hurt. That's the only reason why I wanted to push you away." And then that is touching to Ryan. And then as Ryan leaves, Butcher makes like Ryan's about to take the cookies, and Butcher's like, "Nah, fuck the cookies." So he throws them out. So he decides not to fuck Ryan over and not to drug Ryan. Let's see. We see Sister Sage and Homelander. They're interrogating one of the employees, and basically, this poor employee ends up. Because Starlight had contacted her a few days ago. She used to have a relationship with Starlight. They were friends. This employee gets laser blasted, and Sister Sage is pissed at Homelander because she's like, "We were about to get more information. And you just fucking killed her." And Homelander's like, "Yeah, you're probably right." And that happens in front of Ashley, so she's just like, "Yeah, I don't know about this anymore." At the same time, Starlight ends up breaking into the Vaught's building and breaking into Vought Tower and then confronting Firecracker and just being like, "Why are you calling me a pedophile? What's the deal?" And Firecracker's like, "Actually, do you know why?" Apparently, Firecracker and Starlight go way back when they were in the beauty pageant scene when they were really young. And apparently, Starlight was a fucking huge bitch to her. When she was really young, she spread these terrible rumors of Firecracker basically getting, I think, fucked in the ass is what she said by the judges, and that's the only reason why she was on the circuit. That's such an insane fucking thing to say. So, and like, she kind of fucking ruined Firecracker's life. Like, she had to move, like, she had to drop out of the pageant scene, like, it just completely fucking destroyed her. So, like, Starlight has no rebuttal to that. She's like, "God damn, I used to be a terrible person." Like, she's like, "I was young. My mom pushed me. It was all this pressure." But Firecracker's like, "I don't care. You ruined my life. Fuck off. I know who you actually are." All these things. So, tough realization for Starlight. Then we see this rehearsal that's going on of like Vought on Ice. And it's like a like religious, right wing, alt right type of musical that they're kind of pulling off, and none of these people are actually soups, right? They're all actors. They're all just mortals. So this is going to get interesting. But while this rehearsal is going down, I think it's getting like the boys are conducting surveillance of this rehearsal, right? And then as this is happening, we get the scene where MM is calling out Huey for being in contact with Butcher. And MM's like, "You got to stop fucking talking to Butcher." Huey ends up going in the vents to do some more surveillance because Victoria Newman pulls up with Zoe, who's a murderer, by the way. But Newman pulls up, and then she's having a conversation with Homelander. And basically, the combo that they're having is, let me skip over to the scene. Yeah, so she's having a conversation with Homelander, and Homelander is basically like, "Hey, here's the deal. Like, we'll help you, but you have to block like that act, right? The act that Singer is trying to pass, all that stuff." So Hugh and they're talking about destroying Starlight, all these things. So as this is all going on, Huey is watching from above the vents, and he ends up like, he's so nervous, he ends up sweating. And another thing I gotta mention is that Homelander wants Newman at some point to come out as a soup, and Victoria Newman is really against that idea, but that's what Homelander wants. As this is happening, Huey ends up sweating. His sweat drips onto Homelander's shoulder. He's got super like senses and stuff, so he immediately knows that it's Huey. He can smell him, and he lasers the vents. Narrowly misses Huey. Huey gets out of there with A-Train's help, but Homelander's just kind of firing lasers all over the place. He ends up slicing one of the actresses in half. Let me see if I can find that, because that shit was pretty gnarly. But one of the actresses just gets fucking sliced right in half. And then all the actors are just freaking out, skating for their lives. This poor actress gets her fucking finger sliced off. It's complete pandemonium. Huey barely gets out of there. Finds out A-Train saved him. It's just like, "Why'd you do that?" And then A-Train just fucking dips. So A-Train is coming around for sure. Meanwhile, the boys, the rest of the boys are kind of just drinking like I am right now and just kind of recapping and just be like, "Wow, what a fucking terrible day." Kimiko and Frenchie returned from Kimiko's fucking from her terrorist group. Let's see, they keep going, and then Frenchie and Kimiko are both holding secrets from each other. Kimiko won't tell Frenchie why she had that reaction when she saw that girl in the terrorist cell. Frenchie won't tell Kimiko about why he's freaking the fuck out with this whole call-in thing. Let's see. I want to keep it moving here. Huey goes back to the hospital to confront his mom, and he basically tells his mom, like, hey, I was going to fight and try to fight you for power of attorney, but I'm kind of out of energy. I'm out of gas. Why did you leave? Like, why the hell did you leave? His mom is just like, look, I was depressed. You know, I had postpartum. I thought about ending my life. I tried to kill myself. I took 40 Ambien, but I ended up throwing them all up. But after that, I just realized, like, I was basically a danger to you and a danger to people around me. I needed to get away, so that's why she left. And then she says once she got over it, she was too guilty to come back because she felt like Huey and his father didn't deserve her. So she just basically comes clean about that, and she says, like, you know, I'm sorry, like, I was just like borderline suicidal, or not even borderline suicidal. I was suicidal. So this hits Huey hard, and he realizes, yeah, like, you know, his mom wasn't mentally well. I'm not sure he fully forgives her, but he at least understands a lot more of where she's coming from. And then we see Kessler fucking yell at Butcher, being like, what the fuck? You just wasted a bunch of that valuable drug. Also, I'm CIA, so I know that you only have a few months to live. So why the hell did you do that? You know, like, you're going to die soon. Like, this was your chance to basically make a difference. And Kessler's like, hey, if you don't figure out a way to train Ryan, we're going to have to kill Ryan. So just keep that in mind. And then we see, this scene was kind of wild because we see fucking Sister Sage just kind of vegging out, like munching on a bloomin' onion, and she's lobotomized herself. Like, that's the way she can turn off her powers. She just sticks a fucking rod in her head and like basically stabs her brain. But the Deep comes over and they end up like making out and having sex because they kind of just like they vibe. And then it ends with Homelander talking to Ryan, and Ryan's been gone all day hanging out with Butcher, who he has a lot better of a time with. Homelander knows that Ryan's been with Butcher. He knows that he's lying because he can hear his heartbeat and stuff. And Homelander's like, why don't you fucking love me? You know, I gave you everything that I want, which was interesting. That's what he says. And Homelander's fucking just mad about all of this. And then he freaks out, smashes a fucking, I think a vase or a mug or something like that. So just has an anger explosion. Ryan runs off. And then Homelander ends the episode basically talking to all of his different personalities in the mirror, and they tell them that it's time for you to go home and to figure these things out. And that is the episode. So Damon, I went on a bit of a tangent there, but so far we've only been streaming for an hour and 26 minutes, and we've somehow covered all 3 episodes. So we're back on track, baby. But give me your thoughts, man. What's going on?
Just to tie into the closing Homelander thing, it's a little meta because he throws a bust of himself into the mirror, which shatters, and then the bust of himself breaks. We see the 4 different versions of himself. It is funny how he's got like the devil, the angel, like the realist, and then the pacifist all over there. He was created in a lab by Jonah Vogelbaum with use of Soldier Boy's, I think Soldier Boy's sperm and part of Stormfront's tissue. So, which is also weird because that means he was dating his mom for a while. But that's probably where he's going to go back to try to find answers. I feel like he's looking for a way to turn off the sentimentalities and the need for approval that he's developed. So that's probably what he's after. A couple other things to touch on real quick. Newman and Homelander becoming allies is probably worst case scenario for everybody in the crew, especially because Newman was looking to procure the virus for all the soups. Now this means that it might be on the table for the boys to try to find that virus, aka Butcher, and let that one loose. That's probably going to be his answer to not having to use Ryan and send Ryan away with Kessler. Because the conversation that he has with Ryan, with Butcher, when he's talking about how he drives people away and how he's a dick and how he's a bad guy, that was probably the most heartfelt and honest Butcher has ever been. Is this personal growth? Is this desperation? Who really knows? The first few episodes gave us a lot of heartache. Everything from what Frenchie's going through, what Kimiko's going through, what Huey and his mom are talking about. I think that we'll probably see it pick up a little bit beyond this because they've set the foundation for the next episodes to take off a little more action-wise. Kind of hilarious that Sister Sage needs to lobotomize herself just to be on the level to talk to the Deep and like appreciate his company. But I guess she must have a healing factor too. That's got to be how she did it. I would wager though that the first time she did it, she was just trying to kill herself though, because I think she has a really hard life being the
Yeah.
smartest person in the world. So then she just realized her brain has a healing factor, and now that's what she does when she wants to take a load off. So that's kind of sad. I want to know more about her too. I've heard a lot of theories about her. I want to see how that develops. A couple questions as we go in. Um, Hype for the Homelander reunion. What is he really looking for? Is Kessler going to try to abduct Ryan without Butcher's consent now that Butcher has moved off the idea? How
Oh,
long before A Train gets caught? Who is the girl from the Shining Light facility? Is that Kimiko's relative? Is it just a friend? Is it somebody she like? What's the connection between them? Could she be an ally for the future? Because it seemed like she was a soup as well with her the ability to fight Kimiko off like that. And then finally, I did some snooping, like a little kid looking in his parents' closet, trying to find out what his Christmas presents are about to be. I looked on IMDb. I know that
mm.
Kate and Sam from Gen V are confirmed in 2 episodes this season. I couldn't find Marie though, which was kind of disappointing.
Oh,
I, I
okay.
wonder how
Damn.
Homelander pulls them in. Like, are they going to be replacements for Ryan, or are they additions to his family to make Ryan feel more comfortable? I'm not sure, but I know it's going to go one of two ways on that.
That is a great fucking call. All right, perfect. Well, hey, we we went on a speed run, hour and a half. We covered 3 episodes. We'll have more stuff, but like from here on out, I think it's just gonna be 1 episode per week. So we're gonna be trying to stream. I would say Fridays, right? Like we'll try to stream Friday afternoon after. So these episodes will drop Thursday night. So we'll try to stream the next day on Friday, and we'll run a stream per episode. Same exact format, but we'll be doing 1 episode at a time. But hey, appreciate everyone for tuning in. It's been a ride, but here we are. And Damon, any final thoughts before we bid farewell?
We're back. We're back in the boys' universe, baby. I think we're going to get a nice ramp up in the next couple of episodes. Enjoy it while it lasts, because our boy Butcher is only here for so long.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. All right. Hey, thanks for watching, everyone. Catch y'all later.
Later.